This video has been produced by the UK National Agency for the 2017 Call for Applications. This video will provide UK applicants with technical guidelines of how to complete the Key Action 2 Strategic Partnerships for School Education application form. This video is intended to complement our application guidance document, which is available on our website. It's highly advised to use our application guidance to support you in completing your application form, as it provides lots of information about the form and also ideas about how to complete the narrative sections of the application. It is compulsory to complete the 2017 electronic application form if you wish to apply for a Key Action 2 school education project. The e-form can be downloaded via our website at www.erasmusplus.org.uk. To download the form, please click on Menu, hover over Apply for Funding, hover over Schools Funding and click on Apply for Partnership Funding. Here you'll find more information about the two types of applications under the school field, and you can download the School Education Partnership form on the right-hand side as indicated by the arrow now. You'll see underneath that there's a complementary guidance document as well. Please ensure that you download the correct type of form, as there are two forms relating to Key Action 2 for strategic partnerships. There's one type of strand of funding called Schools Only, and a separate type of funding called School Education. If you are just a group of schools and wish to apply for funding, you may wish to consider applying under the Schools Only strand. And if you go back to our 2017 playlist on YouTube, there you'll find specific information and videos applicable to the Schools Only partnership type of form. When you click on the link to download the e-form, the form will open as a PDF or in your browser. Either way, you need to save the application form on your computer or your network. To do this, simply press File and Save As, and save the document to your computer. As long as you have saved the e-form locally, you do not need to be connected to the internet to enter information into the e-form. The downloaded e-form can be saved and closed at any time without losing the encoded data. But it is important to remember that you will need to use the internet in order for some of the calculations to take place. And to do this, you will need to be connected when you're clicking the Validate button. You also need to bear in mind that whilst you can work on the application form offline, you will need to be connected to the internet in order to submit your application to the UK National Agency. You should fill in the required fields on the form using your mouse or tab keys to navigate, and please note that fields that appear in grey are pre-filled or calculated fields. You are unable to manually enter information into grey fields. They will display default values or calculation results or data that is derived from elsewhere for information you put elsewhere in the application form. Blue boxes with a red outline are required fields, or they're pink or blue boxes, and drop-down menus can be used to select preset answers. If you hover your mouse over a box, it will tell you what the maximum character limit is for that box. Blue boxes with no red outline are optional, and as I've said before, grey boxes that are pre-filled and you cannot manually enter information. And you can use the Validate button on every page to identify any missing fields in the form, and it will help make calculations as you go along. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind you of the deadline. The deadline is Wednesday the 29th of March 2017 at 11 AM UK time. Your application must be submitted on time via the e-form, and late submissions will not be accepted, and you will need to be connected to the internet in order to submit your application. The form will not allow you to submit if one or more of the required fields have been completed incorrectly. Please allow sufficient time to complete the e-form, as functions such as copy and paste not always work within the form. Please also submit your application well in advance of the deadline. This gives you time to contact us if you face any technical difficulties. We highly recommend that you validate your form as you progress through the application. This ensures that no fields are missed and that all calculations are completed correctly. The first section of the form is Section A, General Information. It does contain lots of useful information, so please do read that before progressing to complete the form. Then you get to Section B. This section consists of a data table containing information specific to the application. You should check that pre-filled sections in grey correspond to the type of funding you're applying for, especially the core year. So your application form should say Erasmus+, Cooperation for Innovation and Practices, Strategic Partnerships, and then Strategic Partnerships for School Education. Now this is where it becomes very important that you check the field correctly. If you are applying for school education funding, it should say school education here. If you are applying for a schools only partnership, you're using the incorrect form. That should say Strategic Partnerships for Schools Only. If you're applying for a schools only partnership, please make sure that you use our separate video on our YouTube playlist. Now, one of the first decisions in the form that you must make is the main objective of the project. Using the drop-down menu, you should choose the option that best reflects your project aims and objectives. It says exchange of best practices or development of innovation. As you can see, you can select from the drop-down menu as displayed so. Please note, however, that if you select a project for the exchange of best practices, you cannot apply for intellectual outputs or multiplier event funding. The next thing that you need to do is select the language of the application. If you're applying to the UK National Agency, you must select English. Once you've filled in those two boxes, you'll scroll down and you'll see section B.1, Project Identification. In this section, you must include information about your Erasmus Plus project specifically. There are some grey fields here, and these grey fields will fill when you enter information later in the form, so don't panic. The first thing you should enter is the project title, and then if you wish, you can enter a project acronym. Then you must choose your project start and end dates. Partnerships in the field of school education can last between 12 and 36 months. The earliest possible start date you can choose is the 1st of September 2017, but all projects must finish no later than the 31st of August 2020. So for this example, I'm going to choose the earliest possible start date of the 1st of September. You then use the drop-down menu to choose the duration of your project in months. As you can see, by selecting a different duration, the grey box will change and change the duration of your project. You must then scroll down and select the national agency that you wish to apply to. If you're applying to the UK, you select UK01, United Kingdom. Then you progress to section C, which is priorities. From the drop-down menu, you must select the most relevant horizontal or sector priority that match the objectives of your project. You can select up to 3 using the plus or minus buttons as demonstrated, and to remove a priority, please press the minus button as so. You must also comment on your choice of priorities in the narrative box below, remembering that our application guidance has lots of information about how to complete narrative sections of the form. Once you've selected your priorities, just scroll down and you'll get to section D, participating organisations. In advance of completing this section of the form, you must register your organisation on the European Commission's participant portal to obtain a PIC number, if you don't have one already. We have lots of information in our guidance about how to do so. But in this section, the form asks you to enter your PIC. If I remove the PIC number, as you can see, the information disappears. If I enter the information and click Check PIC, while connected to the internet, the information will populate. If any of this information is incorrect, you must go back to the participant portal on the internet and amend your information in your PIC number there, and then re-enter your PIC in the form, and the data will pull through. You can then go through and complete any of the extra questions there for you, and then you get to section D.1.1, where you must select the type of organisation that is the lead. So the PIC number you put in first must be that of the lead organisation, and then you select your type of organisation that best matches using the drop-down menu. Then you get to D.1.2, and we have lots of information in our guidance document about how to complete these narrative sections. But the form does ask you later on if you've had Erasmus Plus or European Union funding in the last 3 years. So this is asking if you've had European Union funding. That could be any type of funding, such as Horizon 2020, Erasmus Plus or others. And you must enter any project or programme information in the fields here, again using the plus and minus button to add columns or remove them. Then you progress to section D.1.3. Here you should enter the details of someone who is authorised to enter into a legally binding commitment on behalf of your organisation. For schools, this is often the head teacher, and if your application is approved, this person will become the signatory for the project's grant agreement. You must complete every field in this section, and if after the submission of your form any of these details change, it's really important that you notify us at the UK National Agency as soon as possible. You then provide information about the contact person for your project, and you can add up to 3. We highly recommend adding additional contact people into the form, as this way a number of people from your organisation can contact us with regards to your project. It might be worth having the main contact person, someone in the finance office, or maybe an administrator. You can add up to 3. Once you've completed the information about your own organisation, you progress to section D.2, where you enter information about your partner organisation. And this works in exactly the same way as before. You enter the PIC number of the organisation as you did before. Once you've entered information about your own organisation, you then progress to section D.2. This is where you enter information about your partner organisations, and it works in exactly the same way. You enter their PIC number as displayed, you then scroll down and you enter information about their background and experience as you did for your own organisation. You provide information if they've had European Union funding before, their legal representative and their contact person, and you repeat the steps for your second partner organisation. So to be eligible, your application must feature a minimum of 3 organisations from 3 different programme countries. After that minimum of 3 is reached, you can add additional organisations from the same countries that you have in the application form already. So you could have multiple organisations from the UK, for example, or in some circumstances you can include organisations from a partner country. We have strict rules on that, and we have lots of information in our application guidance document about including organisations from partner countries. But just as a word of warning, if you include an organisation from a partner country and the assessors don't think that that organisation is essential for the success of the project within the European context, then your whole application will be deemed ineligible. They won't just merely remove that partner from your project. So once you've completed section D.3 about your organisations, they're in the partnership, you can still continue adding and removing partners using the Add Partner button or Remove Partner. But bear in mind that you can only remove the last entered partner in the form. New to 2017, we have a section which is D.4, which is called Associated Partners. So your projects may receive the support of organisations who are not listed as formal partners in the project, and you might want to include information about them here. but please bear in mind information about associated partners. Associated partners cannot formally receive Erasmus Plus funding. So any partner that you want to receive formal Erasmus Plus funding, you must detail as an official partner via PIC number. Then you'll be required to progress through the form and enter a lot of narrative questions. And as I keep repeating, a lot of information and guidance is provided in our application guidance document, and that helps you construct your answers in these sections. To go on to talk about preparation, the project management and implementation, and then you get to section G.1, which is called intellectual outputs. Intellectual outputs are only available to projects supporting innovation. If you selected project supporting best practice, this part of the video will not be applicable to you, so you may wish to skip forward. If you do plan to include intellectual outputs, you should select yes from the drop-down menu. And please do check out our guidance to make sure that the intellectual outputs you are applying for would be considered eligible outputs. Automatically, your first output will be identified as output 1 by number 01. You should then give a title to your intellectual output. So your output will automatically be identified with output 1, your first one will be. Then you need to provide a title, a description, and a description of the division of works. Our application guidance provides lots of information about this. And please don't be fooled by the size of the boxes. If you hover over them, you'll see that some of them have a capacity of 5,000 characters. So whilst they look small, you have lots of space to write information. Then you need to choose a start date of when you propose to start working on your output. Now, this is just to indicate to the assessors where your output production will take place during the life cycle of your project. If this in the end changes once you get funding, that's fine, but your output activity must take place within your overall project start and end dates. But as I said, these dates are just to give an indication to the assessors when different elements of your project will take place. You must then select the languages that you intend to produce the output in, using the plus or minus buttons to select one or more languages. You must then select the medias of the application. So these are the media types that you will produce your output in. So if I press plus, you'll see there's book, broadcast, CD, cinema, database. It's a whole list of different types of things. If my output, this example is a text is software, there's an example there. You must then select the organisation who's leading on the project and any participating organisations who will help you produce it. It doesn't necessarily need to be every partner of your project. Then you can add or remove intellectual outputs by pressing the Add Output or Remove Output button, but please bear in mind that you can only remove the last added output from your project. If you've included intellectual outputs in your project, you can also apply for multiplier event funding. It's not required, but you can choose to do so. But they are only available to projects producing intellectual outputs. Events are identified by event numbers, so here you can see we have event 1. You should then enter the title of your event and the country of the venue of the event. Please note that events must take place in a country where one of your partners or you as a lead organisation are located, or at the seat of a European Union institution. To then provide an event description, and like intellectual outputs, whilst this box is small, you do have a large number of characters, so you have 5,000 characters worth of space to enter an event description. You must then choose the start and end date of your events to let the assessors know how long the event will be. Will it be 1 day? Will it be 2 days? This date can change at a later date, but it's just to indicate to the assessors when during your project lifecycle this will take place. You should then select the intellectual output or outputs covered that you will disseminate to the participants of the event. Should then choose the activity leading organisation or any participating organisations. You can press the Add Event button to add a second or third or fourth event and Remove Event button as demonstrated like so. But please bear in mind that you can only remove the last event that you have added. Once you've added the events, you then move on to G.3, which is Learning, Teaching, Training Activities. These activities include the learning, teaching, training of staff and learners that contributes directly to the main objective of the project. These activities involve the transnational travel of participants. Please make it clear in this section how any planned activities contribute to the wider project objectives. So activities of learners as well as long-term activities of staff or youth workers from or to partner countries is not eligible. So for each activity, like before, you'll have an activity number. So here we have C1. Then you need to select the field that your activity relates to. So it's highly likely it's going to be school education, but there are other options available. Then you choose the activity type. So here you can select whether it's a long-term teaching assignment, blended mobility of school learners, a short-term joint staff training event, a short-term exchange of groups of pupils, or a long-term study mobility of pupils. Please bear in mind though that all these activities have minimum durations which must be met in order for your application, or for that activity to be eligible. You must provide an activity description. Again, whilst that box looks small, you have 5,000 characters. Then you must select the country of the venue. Then when you get to the number of participants, it's really important that you take your time with this section. So here you should enter the total number of participants that will take part in that activity. And that's participants, a cumulative number of all the participants who will take part from all of the partners who will take part in that activity. So if you are having, say 6 people from each of your partners, you would enter 18 in the box here. And then you should select out of that number of participants how many of them have special needs and if any of those are accompanying persons. So if actually we had 18 participants but one of them needed someone to accompany them as an accompanying person, we'd enter 19 in that box and we would select 1 in the box underneath it. But for this example, I'm going to keep it as 18. And then you select who is taking part in that activity. So if all of the partners in my example project are going to take part, I would select all 3. Like so. So this is to provide you with an example. If you are doing the short-term exchange of pupils, it's highly likely you will need accompanying staff, so teachers. So if you are bringing 6 pupils from each of the schools, so 18 participants in the activity, but you actually needed to take a teacher from each of the schools, you'd have 3 accompanying persons, and you must add that 3 to the 18 participants. So you'd have 21. Okay, but I'm just going to change that back. So then you have lots of narrative questions and you progress later through the form. Then you have a section about impact, dissemination of project results, and sustainability. Then you get to the budget section. So your project will automatically have project management and implementation budget added. Now this is because it's based on the number of organisations and the duration of your project. So that will already be added for you. Then you scroll down and you can apply for something called transnational project meetings. Now this is an amount paid as a contribution to travel and subsistence for project meetings between partners. They must be hosted by one of the participating organisations. And grants are paid according to a contribution of unit cost depending on the duration. This budget section is for travel of people to attend the project planning meetings only. It shouldn't be used to fund the travel associated with learning, teaching, training activities. There's a separate budget for that. So if you wish to do project planning meetings, you must apply for all of your partners who will attend meetings. So if all of our partners want to go to a meeting in the UK, so where the British Council is located in London, say we had 2 people from each of those who wanted to go to the meeting was going to be hosted in our London office, then you do need to use the distance bound calculator. So the first example would be for, let me just check your organisation. So from the British Council in Slovakia, these are just pics that I've used as examples. So if I type in Bratislava to London, press calculate, and my distance is 1,287. So I go to the application form, and for the country of organisation, I would select 100 to 199. The form will then calculate to the internet, and then for the UK to UK, I'd select 0 to 99, and then we would have to select the organisation from Belgium, so it'd be Brussels to the UK. So going back to the distance band calculator, I would type in Brussels type in calculate, that's 320. So going back to the application form, again it fits that smaller distance band. Then if you were having another meeting, you would add the distances again, but you can accumulate them if the distances are the same. So if I knew that we're going to have a meeting in Slovakia, you can add them as separate lines, or if the distance bands are all the same, you can accumulate them together. Then you go down to the intellectual output section and you press the plus button, and here you can select the pick of the organisation that will contribute to the production of the output. You select the output number, then you select the category of staff, so it's the category of the activity that will be completed. So if it's activity that it's teacher training activity time, you select that, and then you select the number of working days that person will work on it. Bear in mind that it's the activity that person is completing, not their usual role in the organisation. So that one person might actually be classed as different activity types in the same output, as demonstrated like so. Don't forget to include intellectual output funding for your partners if they require it. Then you get to multiplier events and you press the plus button and you choose the organisation who's hosting the event, and you'd select the event identification. So event 1. Now, you enter the number of local and foreign participants. Please remember that it's not possible to claim multiplier event funding for individuals representing organisations that are listed as partners of the project. These should be people who are going to be external to your project, that are going to come to your event and learn more about the intellectual outputs that you've produced. So you enter the number of local participants and foreign participants. bearing in mind foreign participants can't be people from your partners overseas, they have to be foreign participants from other organisations, and then it will calculate your funding to host that event. Then you get to the learning, teaching, training activities, and your budget is split between travel, individual support, exceptional costs, like so. So the first thing that you need to do is your travel. So don't forget to apply for funding for all of you and your partners. So for this example, do activity C1. You must use the distance band calculator. So please make sure, as I've demonstrated before, that you go back and use the distance band calculator. Then you include the number of participants, including accompanied persons. So once you've done this section, it's really worth going back to your activity information and making sure all the numbers match up. Then there is something called top up for expensive domestic travel. You can only claim this if it's duly justified in your application form, and you have to demonstrate in the narrative later on that your trip from your organisation to an international hub and back would cost more than €225. But if you are wanting to claim expensive domestic travel costs, please do check our guidance to see if you would be eligible. But if you are claiming for it, you can enter 1 for 1 top-up, 2 for 2 top-ups, or 0 for none. This example, I'm just going to put in 1. But please do check our guidance on this to make sure if you're applying for it that you would be eligible. Then you apply for individual support for all of you and your partners to attend the learning, teaching, training activity. You add in the duration per day of the participants. So if there's 6 days, you can claim up to 2 travel days as well. So if our activity was going to be 6 days, we have 2 travel days either side. You can select 0 and select 9. Then you enter the number of participants without accompanying person. So in my example, we have 6. Then you enter the duration for your accompanying persons and then the number of accompanying persons. So I would have to go and add all this in for all of the partners of the project. Like so. Again, it's worth going back to the activity section of your form to make sure you're requesting funding for all of your participants that you require it for. Then we have a section which is called Exceptional Costs to Overseas Countries and Territories. And we have lots of information in our guidance about this. It's quite simple, so please do check out page 50 of our application guidance if you wish to apply for that. Again, the special needs support. We've got lots of written information about whether you can or can't claim for it, but if you do wish to claim for it, you simply press the plus button, select the organisation it relates to, number of participants with special needs, and provide a description. And then you enter the grant requested in euros. Then we get to exceptional costs. Now, the awarding of exceptional costs is not guaranteed. Full justification must be given in the text box underneath it. And we have lots of information in our application guidance as to what we would accept as exceptional costs or not. But for this, you just press the plus button, you select the organisation that needs the funding, you enter description of the items that you require, and you enter 75% of the total amount. So say your exceptional cost item cost €100, you would enter €75 here. Then there's a box underneath. It's not required, but we highly recommend that you use it. Here you can provide any information you wish in support of your application for budgets. So if you're applying for a large number of transnational project meetings, you might want to justify why here. If you're applying for top-ups for travel, please provide the information here. And specifically for exceptional costs, you must provide clear information as per our application guidance, and that justification must feature in the box that I'm highlighting on the screen now. Once you've requested your budget, you'll progress through and you need to provide a project summary. Then you get to J.1. This will provide you a summary of all the organisations that are taking part in your project. These are the ones or organisations that can receive funding as part of your project. So if there's any organisations missing here, please add them by their PIC numbers earlier in the form. Then you see a budget summary. We cannot provide you with additional funding if you're successful above the amount that you've requested here. So please do check that all the funding that you're requesting is correct before submitting your application form. You must then check the checklist. I would look at this and go through it step by step to make sure you're not missing anything. And then you get to the data protection notice. Please do read that. Then you find the declaration of honour. The legal representative of your project must read this carefully. They must then print the declaration of honour using the print button here. They must sign it by hand, and then you must attach it as a document in the annexes section. You must also attach a timetable of activities to your application form. The timetable of activities can be downloaded from our website, so it's really important that you attach those two documents as annexes. And for school education projects, you must attach partner mandates for your project. So all of your partners must sign partner mandates and they must be uploaded as annexes here too. Then you go to the final page. You must do one final validation. So as you can see here, it will tell you if there's any errors in the form. You must go back and correct those errors. Please note that the warning messages that come up are not technical errors with the form. They're errors because you haven't completed the form correctly. Once your form is finally validated, you press validate. You're then ready to submit online. So once you press the submit online button, press yes, and the form will connect to the internet. You must be connected to the internet in order for your application to be submitted. Once it is submitted, you'll get a submission summary at the bottom of the form. It will tell you the time in which you submitted, provide you with the submission ID as well. And at this stage, we really recommend that you print the application and also save a final copy for your records. So the UK National Agency is available to provide you with a wide range of support to help you with your application. We do have our guide for applicants available on our website, as I've explained, and we have our website. So please we recommend that you subscribe to our newsletter. There you'll get regular updates. I think it's monthly updates relevant, and it'll provide you with information about deadlines. Do engage with us on our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Storify. And we have our helpline. So we're available from Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 at 0161 957 7755. You can also contact us at erasmusplus.inquiries@britishcouncil.org. In addition to this support available, we're also offering one-to-one telephone calls. So if you'd like to book on a one-to-one support call, please get in contact with us and we can point you in direction of the registration page. So these are 30-minute calls where you can discuss your project ideas. The UK National Agency can have a look at your application. We can look at the technicalities to make sure it's completed correctly, and we can also give you some advice on how to further strengthen your project. Thank you for watching this video and good luck with any applications you make.